before there were traditions, before there were generations of families here in Britain, there was a journey. This poem is called The Arrival. Before the music, before the markets, before the movement, there was a journey. Not a short one, not an easy one, an ocean wide, with no guarantees on the other side. They came with suitcases, but not full ones, because how could you pack a whole life into something you can carry? How do you fold up home and leave it behind? They didn't arrive empty-handed, they arrived full of faith. Faith, there would be work. Faith, there would be opportunity. Faith that somehow God had already gone before them. Because even in unfamiliar lands, they were never on unfamiliar ground with God. They stepped onto shores they didn't always become them, that didn't always become them, into streets that didn't always see them, into systems that didn't always serve them. And still, they built roads they weren't allowed to walk freely on. They built communities where they weren't always accepted, and they built lives where there was once only certain uncertainty. They worked, they endured, they stayed, even when it was hard, even when it hurt, even when the world said, you don't belong. But they did. Because belonging was never given by man, it was already written by God. They didn't just survive, they sustained families, culture, faith. They passed down recipes, rhythms, resilience, and a strength that could not be broken. And today we stand here, not just because they came, but because they stayed. So when you taste the food, remember. When you hear the music, remember. When you see the colours, remember. This didn't all start today. This started with courage, with sacrifice, with a journey across waters that carried more than people. It carried purpose. And what crossed the ocean then is still living, breathing, and standing here today. Thank you. I have a second poem that I'm going to share with you. And it's called Because They Stayed. Because they stayed, children learned new songs, grandchildren learned old stories and cultures met. Neighbours became family and whole communities were born. Because they stayed, churches filled with voices from different islands but one faith. Different accents, same prayers, different journeys, same God. Because they stayed, Britain became richer than bricks and mortar, richer in flavour, richer in colour, richer in music, richer in understanding. Some planted gardens, some drove buses, some healed patients, some taught children, some swept streets, and some built businesses, and some changed history. And many did it quietly, without statues, without headlines, and without applause. But not without impact, because every life touches another. Every act of courage echoes, and every sacrifice leaves footprints. Today those footprints are everywhere, in our churches, in our workplaces, in our communities, in our friendships and in our families. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy of all. Not that they crossed an ocean, but that they built bridges. Bridges between people, bridges between culture, bridges between generations. And those bridges are still carrying us today. So today we give thanks for those who arrived, for those who stayed, for those who built, and for those who will carry the story forward. Because the journey did not end when the ship reached the shore. It lives on in